Good morning, YouTube. Constitutionality News here with another educational article on First Amendment audits. Excuse me. This one is entitled, What is a First Amendment Audit? This is by Elliot Winslow, who works at Fair Antigua. This was posted on January 22nd, 2018, but still rather pertinent, I thought. Anyway, let's read the article. I give you my usual annoying commentary. But if I annoy you too much, you can always hit the like and subscribe buttons and go watch something else. Okay, enough said. A First Amendment audit is when someone goes to a place where they can legally be and records the results. That is a quick answer. However, they involve a lot more. First, you need to understand what are places you can legally be. You need to understand the law and nuances of identification law in your area. And you need to understand the difference between public and private property and trespassing. You also need to know recording laws in your state or area. We'll start with the ID. In stop and ID states, to compel ID, the police must have reasonable articulable suspicion, RAS, of a specific crime. Simply saying you are acting suspiciously is not a crime. A common response is being suspicious a felony or misdemeanor? They will virtually always respond, neither, which means they don't actually have RAS. There are a lot of stupid cops who believe if they demand your ID, then you must provide it. Without the required legal basis, this is always wrong. In non-stop and ID states, the legal standard is probable cause, PC. Some cops will claim that you're obstructing their investigation. You are not required to assist in their investigation, and their demand for ID must be based in law. You cannot obstruct something that you have no obligation to assist. Further, many states require physical action to obstruct, even if they could claim it. Refusal to provide a name is not physical. Therefore, I recommend you carry no ID if you do these audits. They can't then rummage through your pockets and find it. Good advice. I don't know who this fellow is that wrote this article, but that's, in my opinion, damn good advice. Public property. Here we go. This is somewhat more nuanced than it should be. There is no such thing as government property. All property that is held by the government is public property. This is beyond debate. The government owns nothing. They exist and operate in the name of the people, not in the name of themselves. With that said, just because it is public property doesn't mean it is publicly accessible. Fenced-off areas are easy indicators of non-public accessible. Another thing is signs reading like authorized personnel only, and such can shut areas off from the public. However, public areas of public buildings are public areas that any member of the public can be in. In those places, any policy they have is subject to legal challenge. Yeah, I've seen that happen many, many times, especially in courthouses, where they say the judge has issued an order that no filming inside the courthouse. It's my understanding they can shut down photography inside their courtroom, but not in the publicly accessible areas of the courthouse. That's just for one example. Some will say no cameras. This is simply not legal. This is public. Remember, the building is owned or leased by us for our benefit. There is no expectation of privacy from any space visible in this area. The areas behind those public areas can be restricted and usually are. However, if you can see them, you can film them. Nothing they say or put on a sign can change that. Further, asking or demanding you leave because you're recording is not a lawful order. It is actually pretty hard to trespass in a public building. That's true, but the police don't seem to. So a lot of police don't seem to believe that. They think they can trespass you anyway. Further, just because they don't like the business you are doing doesn't mean that you are not conducting business. We are not allowed in those business. We are not allowed in these business at their whims. We are allowed because they serve us. Private property is far easier. You have no right to be there in general. So stay to the public areas like sidewalks. No company has any legal authority to tell you to do anything on a public sidewalk. You need to be sure about where the public part of the sidewalk is. We'll cover how soon. In places like malls and stores, you are de facto welcome to be there until your individual authority is revoked. Then you must exit to the public portions like sidewalks. Keep in mind that strip malls can be a special case. Most stores are leased, even the big ones, and their security has authority over the store and potentially some of the parking lot, usually directly in front of the store. I wasn't aware they had were a covered part of the parking lot as well, but I can see how they could. What this means is that while they can order you to leave the store, they cannot order you to leave the mall. However, mall security can, as they control the entire mall. So just because the store kicks you out doesn't mean much more than the store. Excuse me, guys. Got a little touch of cold this morning. It should be noted that on private property, policy is not law, and nothing they say can change that. They can demand you leave for any or no reason, but beyond that, not much. It should be noted that no matter what they say, they cannot order you to stop recording. Their policy is unimportant and has no force of law. And personally, if I was ordered to leave, I would, and be sure I recorded the whole thing, lest they say I refused. I now have indisputable proof of what actually happened. Trespassing is pretty easy. Property with no trespassing signs have already given you fair warning. True. Very true. States will often state how far apart they have to be to have the said effect, but if they have them, then honor them. They can arrest you inside that property with no further warning. It should be noted that if the area is unfenced and the signs are only at some entrances but not others, and does not show a clear area that is off limits, any trespass charges are unlikely to stick. Now, the other part of trespass, if you're ordered to leave the property by someone authorized to issue such commands, then you need to do so immediately. Again, be recording so that there is a hard record of how long it was between the order and the action. Also, you are not trespassing until you have been ordered to leave and you have refused. They are required to allow you a reasonable amount of time to leave. Let's say the store manager at Walmart ordered you to leave, and a few seconds after that order, you headed to your car and departed. Then you've committed no crime. Let's add a wrinkle or two. Let's say there's a bit of a traffic jam in the lot and you can't immediately pull out of your parking spot. As long as you're making the effort, you are still not in violation. Remember, reasonable amount of time. Obstructions beyond your control do not count against you. A little different wrinkle. Let's say the store employee ordered you to leave. In small stores, that would probably be a lawful order. But in a store like Walmart, no regular employee, blue vest for sure, is vested with such authority and could be ignored. Inside public places are a whole lot more complex. However, places like the lobby of a police department are considered public, and nothing happening there is private. I agree, but there again, you got to convince the police of that. They think it's their building and they have total authority over it. I've seen it happen too many times, folks. Recording law is actually pretty simple. Every state allows you to openly record anywhere you can legally be, with just a few exceptions. A lot of cops will claim that you need someone's permission. That is particularly true in multi-party consent states. What is important to remember is that all of those laws hinge on reasonable expectation of privacy. which outside your home is difficult to get. I'll give a few places: bathrooms, changing rooms, dressing rooms, basically any place you are likely to be fully or partially nude. Another place would be a private business you own in a private office. Other employees would have much lower expectations. In most circuits, it has been clearly ruled that police have no expectation. I'm having a problem talking now. No expectation of privacy in the performance of their duties, which means that they cannot ever object to recording from any place you can legally be. The most recent decision was Turner versus Driver, Hugo Phillip, out of the Fifth Circuit. Remember, in public, no one can claim any reasonable expectation of privacy. They might want privacy, but if you can see it or hear it, they don't have it. In one state, Massachusetts, it is unlawful to surreptitiously record people, but holding a camera or a phone in a position that appears to be recording is sufficient to overcome that. The police charged a man with recording them secretly because he was recording them on camera and on another device that they didn't know about when they unlawfully arrested him. They had no rational argument how the secret recording made any difference when they knew they were being recorded already. Yeah, well, I mean, you got one device out there recorded. It don't matter if you got 20 more. It wouldn't matter if you got 20 more. The one's all you need. That was just done. Anyway, skipped up a little too far. That's okay. There are a few places where you don't have the right to record. On military bases, on the grounds of nuclear power plants, in courtrooms while in session, past the secure areas of prisons, jails, or where classified materials are handled. I can think of a few places at government contractors where recording could be illegal, but would be well marked. When I referenced on in the sentences above, I meant while standing on the grounds. If you're standing off those grounds but record what you can see on those grounds, then you are free and legally clear. Courtrooms are controlled by the presiding judge. However, courts often have paths to recording inside the courtroom during a session. And cameras and cell phones are not usually allowed into the restricted areas of jails or prisons. This is very true. Like I said before, public areas of the courthouse, such as the public lobby, should be accessible in most any of them. Actually in any of them. But the presiding judge usually does have control over his courtroom. However, he still cannot issue an order covering the entire courthouse, with some exceptions for a federal judge at a federal courthouse. But that's another story. A lot of auditors use more than one camera. I know several that have one running the entire time they're doing the audit, all the way from their vehicle to the location and back. It makes claims like, well, they stopped the video while they were doing X. Impossible. A lot of auditors go live on YouTube or Facebook whenever contacts with law enforcement seem likely, or the natives get restless or stupid. They want a record of what happened while the police cannot accidentally lose in the cloud that they have no control over it and can't make it go away. It's exactly true. There've been more than one police department accidentally lose footage or unable to recover it or what have you. As a final point, do your research. Visit the GIS site for the area you're auditing. Find out exactly what the property lines are. You might be surprised. I find that my sidewalk isn't quite on the property line, so some of my grass is outside my property. Knowing exactly where the property lines are is helpful when the cops get called. You will often hear, they're on the property and I told them to leave. Now, if you're on the public portion of the sidewalk, and you always were, then you were never on their property, and their leave order is nothing. They can't trespass anyone from the sidewalk, and neither can the cops. Well, that's true. Some of the cops don't believe that. But like I said, that's another argument. The sidewalk is considered a public easement that anyone can be on. The number of times I have heard in videos someone claim the auditor either is on the property or was is astronomical. It is exceedingly rare for you or your company to own the property all the way to the street, and the GIS maps will show where your property stops. It's also very, very common for utility poles to be on that boundary. I agree. The county or city wouldn't put, or a state wouldn't put the power poles there if they uh, didn't own the rights to do so. And if the poles are there, then it's public property. Hmm. So the location of the poles is a good indicator of where the easement starts. If you keep to the street side of the poles, you'll be safe 95% of the time, but I would still check the maps. I want to have all the details I can. I agree. I want every detail I can come up with just to make sure I'm safe. Well, this thing ain't wanting to scroll right today. Me and my computer are going to sit down and have a word of prayer here in a minute, as the saying goes. Okay. If you do it, audit that is, long enough, you will get arrested by a cop who is either ignorant of the law or wants to teach you a lesson under the mantra, you can beat the rat but not the ride. It's cops like that that cost departments millions of dollars in lawsuits because you have the evidence. There you go, folks. Record the police, always and every time. A lot of people view this as baiting the cops. I have to ask the question, how is it baiting to simply expect the cops to follow the law? If the cops follow the law, then the videos would be boring. But that is what is actually wanted. There are many videos where the person goes and the people get stupid, which may include the cops upon which they are taught the law. There you go. Educate the police. During a revisit, they are more likely to get it right. There have been exceptions. Almost Park, Texas, and Leon Valley, Texas, are two that either are or were extreme problem children. Olmos Park was operating in a clearly unlawful manner, and after 800 well-armed citizens came and marched on their city, they were a little smarter. It doesn't help them that they were facing multi-million-dollar lawsuits, plural, that did have an S on it, and may not exist as a municipal corporate entity when all is said and done. Leon Valley is the current problem child. They're getting marched on, well, this is an older article. It says they're getting marched on June the 22nd of 2018. He says, I hope they learn. Well, folks, Olmos Park got taught their lesson. Leon Valley has learned theirs. And as long as these First Amendment auditors and people like myself, I can't get out and audit right now. I will be out there before long. I assure you of that. I don't hate the police, but I'm not anti-cop. I'm just anti-bad cop. You know. Anyway, as soon as I can, I'll be out there with all the rest of the auditors. Until then, I'll try to do my best to bring you these articles and hopefully educate a few people. So I hope you learned something. I learned a couple of little points here that, were cleared up for me. Okay, that's the end of this one, guys. I'll shut up and let you get back to whatever you were doing. Have a good day. Take care. Stay safe. This is Constitutionality News. And I'm out of here once again. Bye, y'all.